All right, so in this video, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you should learn Bash and Bash scripting in general. Now, if you don't know who I am, go ahead and take a look at me. I look like a computer guy, okay? I look like I know what I'm talking about, and don't worry, I actually do know what I'm talking about. I intend on proving it in this video, but yeah, let's jump in. So yeah, previously, like a year and a half ago, I made a video called Why Bash, or I don't even remember what I called it, but I talked about why I decided to learn Bash, and that's great, that's a cool personal story, but I think more people are interested in if they should learn Bash. Like if you're watching this, you're probably thinking like, should I waste my time or should I spend my time learning Bash? Is it a waste? Is it an investment? What is it? Let's talk about it today. So the first main reason that I think you should learn Bash is it's a shell, and you should learn a shell for your operating system. So even if you're on like a Mac or you're on Windows and you have, what do they have, like WSL over there? I don't know, I'm not a Windows guy. If you're on Linux, you have your terminal, and inside your terminal, they're gonna be running a shell. That might be ZSH, that might be Fish or new shell or whatever you guys like, but Bash is pretty common. I think on most, like at least Linux systems, you're gonna encounter Bash. You're gonna encounter Bash in a while. I think you should learn it. You should learn it because it is your interface into the computer. If you've done like programming, say you've done like programming in C or something, you know that you will learn system calls. A system call is a way for a user land process, your C program, to ask the kernel to do something. That's great. You can think of the Bash shell as something similar to that, or a shell in general, really. It is the interface. It's the way that a user, you, tells the computer to do something. So you tell the shell to do something. The shell might tell the kernel to do a system call. It might do something else, but the point is the shell, this is how you, the programmer, the operator, whatever you are, this is how you tell the computer to do something. It is your entryway into the computer. That's why I think it's valuable to learn it. Take your time to actually learn it, to become proficient at it. The same way that you might want to learn to type on a keyboard. You know, you probably worked with people that do the hunt and peck method where they're typing with like 2 fingers like this. And it's like, dude, you're a programmer. Like you're going to be typing. Or like you would never see someone like taking notes like that and being like, listen, if that was your job, like you should learn to type properly. So for the same reason you want to learn to type, if the computer is the tool that you use every single day, you want to learn to use the shell if you're going to be interfacing with like Linux systems or any sort of like Unix based systems. I'm sure the same applies to Windows. I just don't know it really well. I'm just not in that world. Number 2 is you can build real tools with basically 0 dependencies. And I think that's really, really cool. What I mean by that is if Bash is already installed, you get access to a whole plethora of Bash built-ins. On top of that, you're on an operating system. Most likely you're gonna have like POSIX style utilities. So these will be like commands like cut, tr, sed, awk, things like that. You've probably encountered if you've done some basic Bash scripting. All this stuff is gonna be built in. So if you need to do file management, file manipulation, you can write tools to do very complex things like go into this directory, find all of the PNG files and move them to a directory called PNG, find all of the MP4 files and move them to a folder called movies. You can write programs in Bash, you can write scripts in Bash that do that with pretty much no external utilities or very small subset of external utilities. When you start adding in extra programs, you could throw in something like FFmpeg and then say, you know what, convert all the .movs that show up here into MP4s if they haven't already been converted. You can write very complex logic like that, which is really cool, really neat stuff. And you don't need any sort of external tools. I don't need to go download dependencies before I do this. Most of the tools will already exist there. If you do need dependencies, they're probably in your package manager. So they're really, really simple. They're really easy to install. And then if you really need your own dependencies, you can write command line tools yourself and then call it from your Bash scripts. When you learn to start scripting with Bash, when you learn how the shell works, you learn how to interface with it. You learn that you interface with it through streaming bytes and through external program calls. So you can write external programs that stream bytes, and then you can interface with it super easily. Number 3, of course, is automating it all. We've already talked about building tools with basically 0 like dependencies, or if there are dependencies, there's a very small amount of them. You can automate them. You could have them start up with your machine. You could put them in a cron to run every 5 minutes. You could have them run whenever something else is run. So like, for instance, I have on my Mac, I have a script that I run that watches a directory. It watches a directory for changes, and I move certain files into that directory. So like MOV files, and I can run them through a compressor. So a lot of the audio you hear that I'm recording here, it gets run through FFmpeg to apply a compressor to it. So I do post-processing on this, but I don't do it in like video editing software. I use all command line tools. If you're not familiar, a compressor is like an audio plugin. I do not have time to get into how a compressor works. I do know how they work, but they're complex. But basically I use FFmpeg to apply basically a compressor and then some basic volume manipulation and stuff like that. Automatically, I can just drag a file into a folder and then it will do that for me and spit out a new file in a new folder. So all of that stuff is possible because I learned how to do bash scripting. I learned how to automate cool things. You could do other things if you wanted to. Like I know people who have very similar setups where they can drag a PNG into a folder and then it spits out a like JPEG of the file and deletes the PNG. It's kind of a lossy conversion, but I'm not here to judge. But you can do things like that. So automating tasks become something really powerful and really simple. So like some of these tasks to people who don't know computers are like, oh my God, you can do that? I'm like, yeah, in like 3 lines. Like it's really not that complex. So that's one of like a huge reason I think it would be beneficial to learn it. The fourth one I would say is that you're going to see them everywhere. Like even though some people might be going away from shell scripts, they're still like ubiquitous. You still see them everywhere. If you look at any sort of like CI/CD pipeline, there's probably going to be bash scripts because people use them as glue. People think of it as a glue language. It glues one language to another. And that's true. You can totally use it that way. So if you're dealing with like, automated testing, CI/CD, build scripts for compiling complex software, they're probably going to be using scripts and they're probably going to be using bash scripts just because they're so simple, they're so easy. And this is beautiful because like I've been on teams with people that don't know bash that well. They know enough to get by, but they don't know it that well. So when a like software fails to compile, they're sitting there like, I don't know what to do with it. I can look at that script and within 10 seconds know why it fails and fix it. That's valuable. That's very valuable to not have a team of engineers that are making good money waste hours and hours of times and resources when I can just walk up there and be like, oh, okay, like that's the issue with it. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm not trying to say I'm amazing. I'm saying anyone can do this. It's a skill. You can learn it. Take the time to learn these skills and you can be like that. It's funny. People are like, oh, Dave, you're a wizard at this stuff. It's like, yeah, man. And you could be too. But I understand limited amount of time on this earth. You got to prioritize things how you could. Maybe I can convince you in this video to learn the shell, but listen, I totally get it. And number 5, it's really good at teaching you how the underlying system works. I know this might be confusing to hear because bash is a very high level concept and I'm talking about like how systems work, but a lot of the specifics of the system are actually just bubbled up directly through the shell. For example, when I execute a program, I can check its return code. Well, every process has an exit status. My kernel is responsible for that. When my kernel creates a new process, we fork a new process, we exec that binary, we run some code, and then we exit with a specific code. That code is stored in the exit status, and it's there until another process, the parent process, calls wait on it. Wait, of course, being the syscall to reap and get the accounting information of a dead process, or wait until a process dies to be able to do this. With bash, you get all this stuff. There's a wait keyword. I can send signals to a process. How do you send signals to a process? The kill command. These are all built into bash. So you start learning things like this. You're like, oh, this thing exited with 2 and this thing exited with 1. This thing exited with 127. Well, what exactly is that? That might be an exit code, or that might be bash giving me a return code for a process that failed to execute. If it fails to execute, there is no exit code. These are very system specific things, but with bash, you can help learn these things and you can learn the abstractions and why they're useful. A lot of times bash will do things like conflate your binary ran and exited with a non-zero exit code, or your binary failed to run. Didn't even get to the part where it executed. Bash will conflate these two things, and it's useful when you start learning the shell because you can see exactly how it does that. It helps you learn the underlying system because you can see, oh, that's why they did it. Actually, that's very useful that they did it. So it gives you access to a lot of these different things. You can see how data is streamed. You can understand standard out, standard error, standard input. You can understand when I pipe something, why error messages still show up even though I'm piping something to grep. If I pipe curl to grep, why do I get a progress bar from curl? I thought I was piping to grep. Why does the progress bar only show up when I'm piping something? There's a lot of questions there, and learning the shell can help you answer those questions. So yeah, if you want to learn more about bash, check this out. I'm your guy. I have a free course available. You can go check out my course right here, course.ysf.sh. It's completely free. It's a 7+ hour video on bash. And here's the thing. I'm not trying to get your credit cards. I'm not trying to get your email addresses. It's on YouTube. It's a video on YouTube. So go check it out. If you want to start learning the shell, I would say go there. That's the way to do it. That's how you can learn bash. So yeah, just a quick one for you today. Of course, got to give a shout out to my patrons over at Patreon. Thank you so much. Check it out. 88 active members. Thank you so much for your continued support. I appreciate it. If you want your name here, go ahead and sign up for my Patreon. If you don't want to pay me, I get it, dude. I completely get it. Just hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers. I have, I think, 81,000 at the time of this recording, 81.2, somewhere around there. So who knows? Maybe we'll even hit 100 by the time I upload this. Probably not. But yeah, go ahead and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it. Take care, everyone.